Hi, my name is Abigail Crater. I am a junior here at McNeese State University, but I'm now going into my senior year. I'm a mass communications major with a concentration in journalism. And during this spring 2021 semester, I was given the opportunity to have an internship with a magazine in New York City in order to just gain more experience in my destined field and just be able to stretch my journalistic wings a little bit. I'm going to go into the history of this company and everything that entailed during my internship. Uh, the magazine name is YHM, or Young, Hot, and Modern. They're based in New York City. And right here, I have a bit of history. They have an about description that I'm going to go ahead and read that basically encapsulates everything that I was able to write about and everything that we wanted to share with our audience. So, Young, Hot, and Modern serves as the go to destination for the modern woman seeking real and relatable news, tips, and entertainment. Our features focus on what matters the most: character, style, and substance. In this about description, it does say our features, which is something that I wanted to point out because that was mainly what I was able to do with this position. I was an editorial intern, which means that I was able to write many featured stories and anything else that kind of maybe would grab our audience's attention. And I have a list of all the articles and everything else that I worked on during this internship. Right here, I have the staff, and where it says Founder, Chief Content and Creative Officer Yadide Matthews. That was actually my supervisor. She is the editor in chief, technically, and I was able to ask her any questions that I had, and she was able to assign me anything or give me the answers to those questions I have. Here are the editors. I also did work with Savannah Holderer and Rashri. They were extremely helpful, and they helped me basically put out the content that they wanted and helped me get on the right path to writing content for a magazine, because I have never been able to actually write for a publication before. So this was very, very welcoming, and it gave me a lot of great experience. Right here, I have the work details. It was a remote internship due to the COVID pandemic, and it was all virtual. Basically, all of our meetings were conducted through Google Meet, and we would message each other on Slack, which is kind of like a direct messaging app where we were able to connect very, very easily. And also, all of our content that we would pitch to the editor or where we would clock in and out was on Airtable. And it was it was set up very, very well. Basically, a lot of spreadsheets that you were able to input your own information into. And it was very, very interesting to see it whenever it was time to pitch an article, because you could put any type of editorial notes you have, any pictures that would go along great with your story, any attachments that you may have, or just any ideas. Hours are flexible. I did say that you could clock in and out, so it was basically work on your own time. It was unpaid, and again, the supervisor was Yejide Matthews, who I mentioned in the slide before. The assignments that I worked on, this is a major one. The first one is a Grammy highlights article, where immediately after the 2020 Grammys ended that night, I was able to write an article that highlighted the 10 most iconic moments during the entire broadcast. It was published the very next day. And now on the right, I have my feature stories that I worked on, where I interviewed a local artist from Lake Charles, but is now in Baton Rouge, Grace Owen, and she actually began making art during the Black Lives Matter protests for George Floyd's death last summer. And she made a graphic with a Desmond Tutu quote, and it became quickly viral on Instagram, Twitter, basically just every form of social media. So I was able to interview her. I also did a feature story on A24, the movie production company, and their stance on diversity, and how whenever they create movies, especially recent movies in the last 10 years, they have been able to have an incredibly diverse cast and just be able to be the underdogs of cinema, since they're not major blockbusters or superhero movies. They're just original stories with original ideas and very, very diverse casts. On this next slide, I have more assignments that I worked on. I did a couple of music-related stories. I did a 2021 Artists to Watch indie. It was supposed to be a series, but it did kind of fall through with the magazine schedule. I also wrote an article about Taylor Swift and her re-recorded albums. And I did my very first album review for Lana Del Rey's Chemtrails Over the Country Club. And then another article that I wrote is Outfits Inspired by Rom-Coms. It was a listicle which is basically any kind of BuzzFeed-like article where everything's numbered and it's basically just a long list. It was the very first type of listicle that I worked on, and it was the second article that I wrote for my internship. Other things that are not on here that we are working on right now is Spotify curation, and I just submitted a pitch to work on a YouTube drama article just to explain why YouTube drama has such a hold on its audience and why we're so interested into it. My final evaluation is I really did have a great experience with this internship. Like I said, it was the first time I was able to write for a publication, and it really gave me the space and supplies I needed to flex my journalism wings, which I know is something I said, but it was very refreshing to have the opportunity to experience something like that from behind the scenes. Usually, whenever you indulge in media, you're the viewer, you're not necessarily thinking about what's happening to produce it, or say if you're reading a magazine in a doctor's office or waiting for an appointment, you're not really thinking about what the article writers or editors are doing to produce that to you. You just pick it up and read it. So being able to be on the other side of that was very interesting to me. And again, it was my first time writing for a publication. And as someone who wants to be a major journalist in their future career, it was the best way to introduce myself into that sort of mindset. Because since I've been younger, my childhood dream was to write for Rolling Stone. So being able to write for a women's magazine was kind of the perfect one foot into the door. And I do believe that the skills that I learned during this internship will bring me to that position someday, or even just any other journalism position if I'm a broadcaster or just a news producer or just an article writer for a different magazine or publication. I do believe that this was one of the best forms of practice that I could have had, and it enriched my journalism career immensely. Again, this has been Abigail Crater with my evaluation with my internship for Young, Hot, and Modern magazine. And I wanted to thank YHM for the opportunity that they gave me, and I can't wait to see where I go from here. Thank you.